Hello and welcome. Today I'm joined by Neil Hermon, who's the fund manager for the Henderson Smaller Companies Trust. Neil, thank you very much for joining me today. Now, so far in 2019, we've seen markets continue a steady recovery since October's correction. So how has the trust performed in the period since that October correction?
Well, we had a pretty tough Q4 18. The markets generally were under a lot of pressure, obvious concerns around Brexit, global economic slowdown, the trade war potential between the US and China. So the markets had a very tough Q4. 2019 has been better. The mood music across the macro environment has generally been a bit more positive. So Brexit negotiations stumble on, but we're kind of getting to a conclusion. There's obviously been positive sort of progression on the US-China trade talks, and US Fed rates are probably going to be less significant than they were expected to be at the end of 18. So markets have rallied quite strongly in 2019. We've done well, so our NAV is up about 9.5% year to date, to a benchmark about up +8. So a good recovery from a pretty tricky Q4 last year.
Yeah, now it seems almost impossible to escape Brexit, as you've just alluded to there. But as a portfolio manager, your horizons are much further into the future. So in terms of the UK's small and mid-cap space, what does the future look like for them? Are there any trends in this sector? What's the feeling? What's the mood in this area?
Well, the news flow certainly so far in 2019 has been generally fairly positive. The result season we've had the last couple of weeks has generally been pretty good. Notwithstanding those macro issues we talked about earlier, obviously having an impact on short-term performance. I mean, longer term, we're still very positive about the small cap market. I think if you again look back in history, small and mid caps have outperformed large caps by a material amount over the last 60 years, an average of nearly over 3% per year over that period of time. The reasons why that are still remain very valid. The law of large and small numbers, more entrepreneurial management, more niche market positions, ability to grow faster from a smaller base. So, I think, there are some issues in the short term from a macro perspective, but on the long term, we're still very positive about the outlook for UK mid and small caps.
Now, there's some talk about a recession coming in the UK and overseas, and lots of talk about the end of the business cycle coming. As a portfolio manager, you'd have seen a cycle or two, you'd have seen some ups and downs. So is this something that's on your radar? And what does a recession mean for a fund manager?
Yeah, so obviously there are cycles in the economies. That's clearly the case. So I've been around for quite a while. I've seen a few ups and downs over that period of time. Recessions are quite difficult to work with. I suppose really fundamentally, it's more difficult conditions for the companies you invest in. And therefore, and small and mid caps tend to do quite, they're more difficult for small and mid cap because they're more economically sensitive. So, frankly, we don't really like recessions in our universe. We'll try and manage it we possibly can do going through that and try and find companies that can grow, notwithstanding their economic ups and downs. But recessions generally aren't great for small and mid caps.
Okay, and finally, what can you share with us about your activity on the portfolio since the Christmas period? Have you added any new companies to the portfolio, added any positions or trimmed any down?
So yeah, we've been keeping turnover quite low generally. Very happy with the current shape of the portfolio. Added a couple of new stocks. We've added Future PLC, which is a kind of B2B media player moving into consumer titles, trying to get more of a new economy from old economy. Added Savills, industrial property manager agency, and we sold a few holdings. Sold Ferro Petroleum, which has been acquired by DNO of Norway, and also Victoria Carpets, which is a kind of UK floor coverings business, which is struggling a bit at the moment.